Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming to today's community committee meeting. We're on our meeting for September 28th, I believe, and we have a bunch of people in attendance. So let's go down the attendance list in the doc or GitHub issue. Who wants to go first? Let's see, Gregor, I believe.
Hey, sorry, I'm Gregor. I'm part of CommComm.
Awesome. Michael?
Me?
Michael.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm Michael Dawson, CommComm member as well as TSC member.
Awesome. Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle on CommComm, coming in from London.
Awesome. Rachel?
Hello, I'm Rachel. I am co-chair along with Tierney of the community committee. Hi, I'm at Strange Loop right now. That's it.
I'm Tierney Siren, co-chair of the community committee and member of the evangelism working group. Let's see. Tracy?
Hi, Tracy Hines, Node Foundation Education and Community, as well as community committee member.
Awesome. Joe?
Hi, Joe Seppi here, developer advocate with IBM and outdoors, so we'll remain on mute, and hopefully a future CommComm member. Thanks.
Awesome. And then Raphael. Yep. Oh, can't hear you. You muted yourself.
Okay. Hopefully. Rafael Ackerman, CommComm observer and Node Core collaborator.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for coming to today's meeting. So to jump into the agenda, first agenda item is adding Giuseppe as a new community committee member. I didn't see any objections in the pull request. Do we have any objections here?
Well, no.
Easy, Rachel.
So I don't see any objections. So I'm gonna move to pass this.
Can I merge it?
Yes, you can merge it.
Yay!
Go ahead.
Yay, thank you everyone. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Tierney.
All right. Awesome. Okay, so we've reached consensus on that. No minus ones. Next item on the agenda is a pull request to kind of fix some inconsistencies in the code of conduct, code of conduct section in the contributing.md file. This was PR submitted to the evangelism working group and then kind of up-ported or back-ported as well to the community committee. So he's put some work into it, and it looks like a good PR to me, but I wanted to see if there's any other objections on that, because it's code of conduct, so wanted to see if there's any things. It's just minor kind of edits around that. No objections?
Nope. I'll
Awesome.
merge it too. I'll just
Awesome.
merge everything. That's my job today.
Awesome. Okay, so looks like we have consensus on that. So adding a CommComm section to the node.js website. This is something I created yesterday, I think, or no, 3 days ago. That I noticed that there's a huge TSC section from when that was created, when the website stuff and the TSC work had been done, but we haven't actually done a similar thing for the community committee. I think that'd be a great thing to kind of start working on that content. I don't think there should be any blockers on the website side, but we need to, if we do want to do that, we need to work on the content.
So I have a suggestion. I don't know how many of us are going to be at Node Interactive next week. This seems like something that we could get together and tackle and take care of during one of the days next week, and I'm totally willing to work on that if anybody else would like to work on it with me.
I'd be happy to do that, and also I'd be happy to do a kick up a hangout if people aren't going to be at Interactive.
Yeah,
true.
I think it would be more helpful to do it during Collaborator Summit, but I do have time during the actual program if we need to. It just depends on the day.
So Tracy and I aren't going to be there for the whole Collaborator Summit because we have to come back to New York to work on EmpireConf stuff. But if it's something that we could do like the first day of the summit, and then we can have a Hangouts link for people that aren't attending, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll be around Node Interactive and can help as well.
Awesome. We should probably put that in the community committee issue in the summit repo, just to have that as something we want to do there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Tracy. Go ahead, everyone else.
I was just going to add this also, yeah, it'd be good to have it in the schedule there so we can try and minimize conflicts with other things that are going on in the Collab Summit.
I think we filed an issue for the community committee to do a session, but yeah, I think we could also use more time. Like that's my experience is, well, we could do another working session the second day as well. It's just that not as many people are present. That doesn't mean that work can't get done.
Okay, awesome. So we will, I can make a comment on that if nobody else does by the time this meeting's over, and we can get that rolling.
So what's the result? What should I put in the notes? That we will work on this at Node Interactive, and I've signed up Rachel, Tracy, and Joe.
Awesome. Yep.
As interested parties.
Yes, and you can add me to that as well. And also that we will create a hangout for the members to join remotely.
Yeah.
It'd probably be, I mean, if somebody had time to put together a draft beforehand, it might even be more productive.
Yeah.
Tierney, you said you've taken a look at the other sections for like the TSC and stuff that are on the site. Would you be comfortable with working on a draft since you already like checked out the other sections and stuff?
I don't know if I'll have time before the event, unfortunately.
Okay, I feel like that's common consensus along a lot of us.
Yeah, that is the problem, I know.
Yep.
You know what?
I could create an outline. I could do that.
I'll work on an outline with you. How about we just like put bullet points for things we want to address and stuff that's in there.
Awesome. That sounds great. Okay. Any other feedback on that issue in the website content around that? No? Okay. On to the next agenda item. So this is the internationalization and localization working groups issue. This is an older issue that we still had tagged as CC agenda. I wasn't sure if it was something that just didn't get the tag removed, or if there was further discussion we needed to have around this. Does anyone else have context on that?
There's definitely further context that we need to have about this, especially because now that Richard is no longer a part of CommComm, we don't really have someone that I don't know, is willing to get really, well, Michael said he would, but I think that we just need to figure out what exactly we're doing, because there's a lot of people that have come forward and like, yeah, I want to help out with this. This is something that I'm interested in, but we haven't really taken that first initiative to be like, okay, we're all interested in it, but what are we going to do now? Which I guess I could do. I mean, I can make you know what, I'll make a list of the people that said that they were interested and get in touch with them before the next CommComm meeting. And then I'll also work with Tracy, because I think it's valuable in knowing the top countries that have contributions for Node. Although I'm going to assume that those are going to be swayed on who already can access it. So I think that's going to determine how we need to tackle it and that kind of stuff. So assign me to it. I'll do it.
Yeah, I can point you to some. It's nice. It was kind of cool to see when I needed copy translation to help promote the user survey. I literally just like had a template request with some kind words that I pasted in a bunch of the local countries groups, and how many people responded really quickly to help out with that. I think you'll end up getting a lot of people engaging in a similar fashion that way. And then also reaching out on Twitter. You might just want to say, like, are you interested in doing this type of work? Because it would be great to get, again, from, I think we talked about this last session, when Michael and Tierney and I had thought about it in another meeting, was the idea of, like, every time we're doing one of these initiatives, it's a really good idea to reach out on Twitter and in our social media or Slacks and say, hey, we're starting up this really cool thing again, or we're trying to put energy towards it. If you're really into, you know, internationalization, or you've been watching this stuff and you want to help out in a bigger way, we're looking for someone to step up. It would be amazing.
Yeah, because I think it would be a really, really good opportunity for people to also get involved with the project without having to, like, necessarily, you know, make a contribution to core. At least it's like a good first step to, like, dip your toes in the water of a node. And yeah, so should we maybe close this issue? I'll close this issue and I'll start. That doesn't, just because there's a lot of interest in this already, so maybe I'll start a new issue of, like, steps to take and link to this one and close it. Does that make sense? Okay.
I think that's good. Yeah, because it's like a professional spelunker is what we're looking for, and communicator for this.
Something else I do want to ask, is anyone in the meeting interested in helping with this as well? Because I know we do have a few new members and a few members who hadn't participated previously.
So as I said, I think I mentioned it in the last CommComm meeting, I can be a liaison to the Hebrew speakers of the Middle East and the Facebook users.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Who was that?
I am happy to speak French to people and liaise with people in France. So putting my skills for or do some translations.
And Gregor, that was Raphael and Michelle.
Okay.
And another thing that would be helpful is just reaching out to anyone you know who does do Node and isn't English as a first language speaker. That would be an extremely helpful thing to do.
Daijiro said that he was interested in helping out, so that covers, like, Japanese for us and stuff.
Yep.
I'm a bit confused with the meeting notes. Like, someone is writing in it. I don't know who of you it is because it's anonymous. And there have been, like, old agenda items in there, and someone added notes to the old agenda items.
Yeah, that was probably me. I guess I didn't realize it was old, so I was just adding some updates on what's going on there. So.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Oh, let's see. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I will just leave that in for now. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. It's on my end, I think. I will leave that for now. Yeah. Okay. So back to the agenda. Current agenda. Where is it?
Moderation policy 35.
Yes. Awesome. So this is another issue around. It's an older issue that we tagged with CC agenda. I don't necessarily know if the tag or the label. Sorry, I always say that. If the label just didn't get removed. From my understanding of this thread, it seems like it's largely been addressed with the current moderation team. But I did want to kind of bring it up here to see if it can be closed, or if there's anything further that we need to do with it.
I think we can close it. It seems like a lot of the things that it was bringing up are things that are being addressed actively in some other pull requests.
I think it can be
Does
closed.
anyone?
Tierney, it seems like the live stream is offline.
Oh, that would be
Tracy.
on my end. It's showing as live. Sometimes there's a couple second lag.
Nope, nope, it's working for me.
Yeah.
It's working for me.
So, just a minute.
Are we having trouble? Is it possible that we have an old link out there, Raphael, for the person who, or were you the one seeing that it was offline?
I got it.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
So with the moderation escalation policy thing, the only thing that I would ask with this kind of stuff when we see other moving parts happening is if we can link to wherever else those conversations are happening as part of closing that issue so that we can redirect energy. It doesn't look like we're just dismissing or not resolving. And then also making sure that if there is something we were discussing that's important that's not being addressed elsewhere, that we make sure and continue that on into the other conversations elsewhere.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Where would be the appropriate place to link to for this? Would it be a moderation repo or admin repo or somewhere else?
I'm not sure because there was I thought there were a couple issues open. If someone else, I think somebody else in here had said that there were other issues discussing this as well. I just don't have that link on hand.
Okay, no worries. I can try to track that down after this.
But both of those repos are appropriate places. His admin is the jointly owned, and moderation, it's possible that those conversations are happening in the moderation repo, but I think those kinds of issues are best. It's weird. Because moderation guidelines and policy should be surfaced to the public and not just collaborators, those conversations are probably best to happen in the admin repo because that is public. Whereas the moderation repo, this is something we've talked about with the moderation team, the moderation repo is clearly not visible to everyone. It is private to the collaborators. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the right time in the agenda, but I'd also be curious to hear from, I think, Raphael, you're on the group. Is it, whether it's ramping up?
Also Tracy and then Tierney.
Yep.
But yeah, it's getting well, at least we got kicked off, and we're getting a few ideas surfaced and some resolved. People still feel, well, the biggest part we're missing is tooling and mandate, especially for deleting and editing the areas that we can't, but we do have people with higher access. There is another meeting scheduled for next week. Hopefully we'll get more things, let's say, finalized so we can form some sort of document and get it ratified by the governance.
Okay, so we should see something from the moderation team to the CommComm and TSC sort of saying this is what you're recommending and what you need and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. That's obviously
we're trying to work on stuff and moderation on the moderation team, recognizing how important it is to do things quickly. We also don't want to burn the new moderation team out. So,
sure.
So that's it. I know, but yes, you'll see stuff very soon in terms of us trying to help ship PR, publish PRs and issues, engaging the conversations around those guidelines.
Shall I write anything into the notes about this? I just wrote down that Tierney will reference the discussions in other places to redirect the interest. Shall I write anything about the current status?
I think just an overview of what Tracy said is fine to keep in those minutes. Yep.
Okay, I'm not sure what the overview is, but we can move on. I will ask. Sorry.
Okay.
I'll take a cut at filling in what I think it is, and you can tweet.
Thanks.
Thank you. So next on the agenda is an issue I noticed in the build repo about a custom URL for the YouTube channel. I would say this falls in our scope. I'm just trying to help out with this because I know there's it's been attempted in the past, but it hasn't quite worked on the YouTube end. So if we could help out with this, that'd be great. But if we can't, that's fine. I'm willing to try to dedicate some time to this on helping the foundation end, Zibby or Tracy, or whoever else I would need to help with on that. But basically the request was to just get a custom URL, because at present it's youtube.com/channel/ and then a huge random string.
I thought that the barrier to that was that I thought you have to have like over a certain follower count to be able to do that.
So I don't think that's the case, because I did this with the NodeSource account, and we have less followers than the official Node.js one.
Yeah, we'll have to look into it, because I know that I think Zibby spent a lot of time trying to do this once before and got a lot of runaround from it. So yeah, we should totally try that again.
Yeah, I'm happy to help with, because I'm the one who ended up having to do it, part of it. So I'm happy to help with that and try to get that through. Let's see, the final item on the agenda is the new issue in Node.js/admin. This is formally an issue from the TSC repo. That was that documentation around expectations on TSC and CommComm members. Michael, would you be willing to give context around this and just in the new repo?
Yep.
And
yeah, so it wasn't changed too much from the last version in the new repo. There's still, some comments going on in there. I think the main blocker right now is there's at least a few people who are saying we really need to get our values documented before we publish the doc. And I've pasted in the minutes from the TSC meeting earlier this week, because Miles did share an early list of potentially what those might be. And so I think that's something that we expect an issue in the admin repo to be open soon to sort of round out the discussion and hopefully land something in terms of those values. And so, I'd suggest go take a look at them. We could actually pull them out. I can grab them here and paste them in the chat just to see if there's any, starting concern.
Yeah, I think, Michael, it would be cool to see a values doc PR'd alongside that. I think if you, as that gets influenced, maybe there would be a change before that other PR lands. I don't know.
Right, yeah, that was my suggestion, was a PR in the admin repo.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, and I think Miles has the action to do that. This is what he had as, in terms of the main bullet points that were listed. I guess didn't show particularly nicely in the chat there, but treating all humans participating in the project with respect and kindness, creating a diverse environment where individuals feel comfortable participating, actively mentor the growth of our peers, being reliable as a platform or project and as individuals, being proactive about the health of the project, being accountable when things go wrong, and valuing speed but not at the cost of reliability. The other sort of context that went in the discussion that did take place is that it may also make sense to have values for individual working groups. So for example, the build working group might have a set of values, the benchmarking and so forth. And what that might do is it might avoid us having to have a set of values that pulls in absolutely everything. With these being, at the sort of in the admin, I was thinking in the admin repo for sort of the top level, here's our values as applies to everything. And then the more technical ones might actually fit into the particular working group. So you might have a set for core, benchmarking. So that's just a little bit more of the context of what was discussed there.
Where can we, where is the discussion happening about these? Where can we give feedback on these?
That's where, the next step is that Miles should open a pull request in the admin repo.
Yeah. So that we can contribute.
Yeah, exactly. Where everybody can contribute to what it is. I just thought it was interesting to let you know what these were. And
yeah. I think it's really valuable for us to decide this as a group, as a larger group too. Community committee could do this for just the community committee as well as an exercise, and that would be a good practice as well. I think there's some really good examples in open source of this too. It sort of carries over, I sort of think of the Zen of Python in some ways, you know, having been adopted by the Python community overall. You know, they'll have something listed out like explicit is better than implicit, but behind that is because, you know, they care about humans and don't want people to have to wonder or assume things. And so I think that these sort of value statements are very exciting. And there's other places you can look for precedents if you want inspiration, or if you want to carry something over from another community that you find they do really well and that you think should be represented with ours and that we do.
So yeah, so hopefully it'll be open, contribute, and that's a great idea. Yeah, look to the other ones. If they have some great statements like that, we can say, hey, that represents what we'd want to do as well. So, and I'm hoping that, you know, we don't have to get it perfect the first time. I think getting something which is good and getting it in place, and then working on, you know, improving it over time is better than spending forever and not landing it. And like if it takes us 2 months, I'd rather start with something that's not quite as good, but that we can iterate on, right?
Yeah. So I think for this to land, it does need CommComm approval. Am I right on that?
I think in the admin, you know, for the pull requests, and I think this should be in the admin repo. It should be, you know, basically approval from the TSC members and the CommComm members.
Okay.
And we need buy-in. Like for this top level one, I think we need buy-in from that, at least that level, because it's you know, if we don't all agree with that, then there's not much point saying that that's our values, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, just if everyone in the meeting has time, and also on the broader community committee, if you have time, please take a look at that. It's I'm pasting the link in the chat now, but it's also Node.js admin repo and then pull request 12. So if it seems good, please approve, and if you have comments or changes you'd like to request, definitely that feedback is super valuable.
Yeah, and even if it's like, you know, here I have this minor comment, you can put that in, but then say it looks good otherwise, because there are a few comments I still need to incorporate, but I'm kind of waiting until we get a critical mass of things to update at one time.
Gotcha. Cool. With that, I believe we've exhausted our agenda.
So I'd like to add 2 notes on the last item. Quick note is I found it very interesting and thought-provoking. Brian Cantrell's talk from Node Summit about values in the Node community in general. Obviously, it's thought-provoking. And as a follow-up to that, I've been getting some requests for comments from community members regarding all sorts of comments that have been floating around, not necessarily made by formal officers in the Node Foundation, but people who are perceived as, and it's in the original quote, thought leaders in the Node community, again, like Brian Cantrell, etc., which are a little bit more on the edgy / provocative side, and people are worried that there's a mix of professionalism, technical aspects, and politics inside the Node community. I've been looking for a formal resource that I can point them to and say, not necessarily this is what the Node Foundation, this is what Node Core is about. And obviously we're a little bit lacking in that. And I think this PR and the values document could be a very good resource to state out, this is our part of the community, this is what we're about. Other people can hold their own opinions.
Yeah, I had some people ask me about that talk as well, Raphael.
Can you give me a link? Shall I put this into the notes? I don't know what you're referring to.
Yeah, I'll find that link for you, Gregor. Yeah. Okay, thanks. So Brian Cantrell, who is someone who has been a part of the Node community through his work at Joyent, and spoke at Node Summit, sort of on values, but values in a way that is interesting. That I don't know if everyone has seen talks on value being used in that way, in that context, and it's that it's not just things like, creating a diverse environment or mentoring our peers. It's also like values as in speed, performance. So the values of a project, or like what they prioritize in design and architecture. So Brian Cantrell is one of a number of people in the Node community who, people do listen to when it comes to direction and history of the project. And I like to remind people that it is one perspective. While we can, I know things about our history, other members know things about the history of our language, and collectively that comes together sort of some glob of objective history, and even in terms of values and what they reflect. But I think it is an interesting talk to listen to challenge what you think about what values are and what values would be for Node, compared to what Brian perceives them to be. And Raphael, to consider more about what happens when folks who are attached in some way to our project because they've contributed in really remarkable ways over the years, and they speak on their own behalf about things that they believe in. It's really tough to say, like, that's not, I agree with you in that I think a values document and our leadership guidelines will help codify that to be able to say, this is what the current project group believes in. This is what we're operating under, and we're iterating on this. This person is speaking for themselves, right?
Right. Yeah, that definitely. And I think it can be different kinds of values, like things like the last one on the list was valuing speed, but not at the cost of reliability, is more of a technical thing. So we'll have to find the right mix of, what should be in the top level values, what should be like in the, maybe the more technical core values and so forth. And
on that, I think it should be mentioned, a little bit of a heads up. There are a big group of more technical oriented people who would consider technical aspects or technical excellence above personal experiences and personal growth. There's going to be pushback on that. Hopefully we can all manage the conversation in a productive manner.
But it's not a zero-sum thing, right? I mean, we can be improving on both. So I don't think one negates the other per se.
It is that's something that I did take from Brian's talk is at some points things come to a head and the vote is called, and sometimes you need to pick one value over the other, and people would tend to look at the value, at the mission statement, at the value list as sort of like, if we take American governance, is like the Constitution, where everything else is derived from that, and they're going to be very emotional and passionate about it. I think that's good, but it requires delicate handling.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to share, that we should be cognizant of how much people care, regardless of which bullet point they'll be arguing for. So it's that I won't speak for others, I may have priorities and believe that we, need to balance. Others may feel that one side or the other needs to be worked on more and prioritized. So it is good to think. That's a very good point to remember that not everyone is going to be on the same page, but hopefully the document can represent how, as a group, we want to move forward.
Yeah, and be the mechanism through which we can work through those differences. It's better to discuss them than to be acting in different ways, right?
Yeah, that is something I would really like to discuss in person at Node Interactive. Like, I don't know who of you will be actually there. For me, this is very important to actually meet you in person and get a better understanding and talk about things we can't talk about otherwise. Because this is like so far away, like, you know, what Brian is mentioning that I personally think is value. But at the same time, I understand you have to be sensible about approaching this. I just don't know enough about the politics to be constructive with this. I really want to be constructive.
I feel like nobody knows too much about the politics to be constructive.
Yeah.
It's just like so far away. I don't even see how I could even like put in enough energy as this being like a volunteer effort to find a common ground with, you know, it's that far away from me. It's, you know, I don't know how to say, like, it's like.
I agree with you. I mean, I have a lot of issues with some of the stuff that I'm not going to comment on the repos with, because I'm just not, it's not going to create a productive conversation, especially on the internet. So
yeah, I didn't want like, you know, share like just like complain or anything. It's just, for me, it's very, I want to be more constructive, and I hope that meeting in person, we will find ways and what we can do, at least like going a few steps towards each other, because right now I don't know what these steps would be.
Awesome. Do we have any other kind of things we want to talk about on this? And I do want to say that I believe we're going to have a smaller private session after this. Right.
Yeah, there's some questions in the YouTube channel.
Okay, awesome. I wish the Q&A button worked on the chat, but it doesn't, or on the Hangout, but it doesn't. Do you say the questions if you're looking at them, Rachel? Or otherwise I can pull it up right now.
It wasn't.
Okay. Give me a second here. I almost got it up. Let's see here.
Can you post the question in the chat?
Okay, awesome. It's loading. So is there any plan to translate API docs in different languages if people are willing to contribute in their own language? So I don't think there would be any barrier to that. But
there is a bit of a technical barrier, but there has been few efforts to overcome it. Obviously, if somebody's willing to put in the effort, we'll find a way to make it happen. It's complicated, it's not trivial, and even the canonical English documentations are not amazing.
Yeah, this is actually something I'd really love to see addressed as part of a larger discussion on the website, because I think that there's also room for something like versioned docs, which would be remarkable, and as part of that, having it in multiple languages.
We have that entered fairly recently. The versioning of the API docs.
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
It's there.
Okay, good, awesome. And then I think, as you were saying, there are some language, I thought there were some communities who have their own translation of the docs. It's just incredibly difficult to keep up with.
Yeah, and we just don't have the mechanism to cross-reference it from the online docs, but we'll overcome it. It's
yeah. So whoever asked that, if you want to help out, or if you would like to help with a particular language, talk to us and we will connect you with other people who would like to do the same.
Yes, absolutely. I don't see any other questions in there, but have one, we'd be happy to answer it. Otherwise, we are going to head over to the private session. So don't see any more, so I think we can go offline. Oh.
So somebody is asking, but that's a more technical question, how secure is Node? That's a very subjective question. And I think it's better answered in other forums.
Yeah, they could ask, I mean, if they want to ask in the help repo, I think people would be able to dive further into what that question, what they want out of that question, because there's a lot of things having to do with that question. That could be
Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a very general question, I think.
Yeah.
Not for us.
Cool. Well, thank you to everyone for coming to today's meeting, and we will see you in, I believe, 2 weeks for the next one.
Cool.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Stopping broadcast.